Hey, greetings, everyone. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, Senior Fellow at the Media Research Center. Something just happened last week. President Obama appeared with Basement Joe Biden for a little social media Skype Zoom call. And it was interesting when President Obama talked about this awakening that is going on in the United States of America. An awakening. Yes, that's what the former president of these great United States of America calls anarchists. The people that are out there committing acts of violence, threat, intimidation, coercion, ripping down monuments, memorials all across the United States of America. To him, that's an awakening.
The good news, what makes me optimistic, is the fact that there is a great awakening going on around the country.
But I would not think that's anything new coming from a person that talked about fundamentally transforming these United States of America. But in this Independence Day week, I want to go back and make a little comparative analysis about another awakening that came when President Obama was president. And that was the Tea Party awakening. And Tea Party, as you know, stood for Taxed Enough Already. It was a constitutional conservative grassroots movement. It was all about fiscal responsibility coming from our federal government. It was all about people wanting to ensure that the consent of the governed was considered, and they were really worried about the overspending, the growing amount of massive debt that we were seeing. And people are still concerned about that. It has nothing to do with Republican or Democrat. But what I found interesting was that initially this grassroots movement, the first time we'd ever seen that from conservatives, well, it was demonized and denigrated. Initially, it was called astroturf, fake. But then in 2010, for his first midterm election, when President Obama lost 63 U.S. congressional seats, House of Representatives seats, a massive landslide loss for him, historic loss, then all of a sudden it got his attention. This constitutional conservative grassroots movement, this awakening of American people, just everyday Americans going out and doing what their First Amendment right says that they could do. Their freedom of speech, their freedom of expression, their right to petition the government for redress of grievances. All of a sudden, President Obama turned the entire weight of the federal government against everyday American citizens. As a matter of fact, it was President Obama who once said that you should punish your political opposition. And that's exactly what he did. Because President Obama was not going to have this same grassroots movement, this Tea Party movement, this Taxed Enough Already movement to stand in the way of his presidential reelection in 2012. We know what happened with the Internal Revenue Service, Lois Lerner, a name we haven't heard from for quite some time, and how they went after these organizations. I have a dear friend right here in Houston, Texas, by the name of Catherine Engelbrecht. She had an organization called True the Vote. Her business, her life, her livelihood was attacked, assailed, almost destroyed, because she did one thing. She stood up. And so here we are in the United States of America in our Independence Day week. And the week prior, we have a president that is talking about anarchists being an awakening. A group like a Black Lives Matter, which is no more than a front group of Marxism.
I think that the criticism is helpful. I also think that it might, I think of a lot of things. The first thing I think is that we actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists.
And that's supposed to be an awakening. See, we have a choice. Again, I want to reiterate this. We can either stand up as the awoke sons of liberty, daughters of liberty, or we can surrender, cower, attempt to appease, and ultimately surrender to the woke tyranny and despotism that we see. For anyone to look at what is happening in our streets, these autonomous zones that are popping up, the desecration of our traditions, our principles, our values, our history, and call it an awakening, that's the type of verbiage you hear from communists and socialists, Marxists, Bolsheviks. That's what history has taught us. And so in this Independence Week, I want you to focus on liberty, not tyranny, because we see the potential for tyranny to rise up and overtake these great United States of America. But I truly believe that the sons and daughters of liberty, as they did 244 years ago, they'll make a stand. And that's what we need to think about in this Independence Day week. Will we make a stand? Will we remember the words of Thomas Paine when he said that these are the times which try men's souls? When the summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will in this crisis shrink from his duties, but to those who will make a stand, they will deserve the love and admiration of all men and women. Happy Independence Day, America. But let's make sure that the greatest gift that God gave to the world, these great United States of America, that beacon of liberty, freedom, and the ability of the individual to pursue their own happiness, those rights that are endowed to you, not from man, not from government, but from your Creator God, that these United States of America continue on for another 50, 100, 200 years. That's our challenge. I will not surrender to woke tyranny. I will stand and remember our history and remember the sons and daughters of liberty. There is an awakening coming, and it's an awakening that resembles what happened here in this great land 244 years ago. God bless you all. Happy Independence Day.